Hey, G-Man, right? Yes. Hey, it's good to see you. You can sign in down there.
I do want to make sure that we honor some of our constituents for their service to our country. And especially for a Korean war veteran, active duty as a nurse from 1949 to 1953. Things are under Executive Order 9066. He and his family were forced into incarceration. But when his friends signed up for the draft, Koji volunteered. Because of his fluency in Japanese, he was recruited into the military intelligence service for World War II. And after his service in World War II, thank you very much. We have Aziz Akbari, who has been such a leader as on the Alameda County Water District and a board member, and one of the first Muslim Americans elected in Fremont and in Alameda County, and very, very active in the community. And he's also an industrial and systems engineer. He's done a terrific job on the water board. Anurag Paul, I'm sure many of you know him because he's Alex Lee's district director. His work has been vital to the functioning of the district, and my district director says he is the gold standard for district directors. He was named one of the top 40 AAPI political operatives under 40, so keep an eye on his future. Dr. Ramesh Khanna is here with his 3-month-old grandchild. He's a seasoned businessman who's dedicated, a leader of the Association of Indo-Americans. He's also served as the Director of Academics at Patasala and a VP of Strategic Accounts, and he's done so many accounts and events in the community. And then, of course, Yogi Chod, who has been a community leader for over 40 years in Fremont. He's the Director of the Foundation for India and Indian Diaspora Studies. He's the co-host of the radio talk show, The Powerhouse, member of the Fremont Economic Development Commission, the APAPA Advisory Board member. He's involved with FIDS and just been a very, very strong champion for economic and social justice in Fremont and for the United States' relationship with India. Let's give our extraordinary honorees a round of applause.
All of the work that you're doing in Washington, but for really just being a North Star to so many people, regardless of how you feel or where you fall on any issue. No one can say that you're not accessible, because you are, I think, holding more town halls than probably any member of Congress, where we can either praise you or yell at you. So, thank you. I certainly will want to live up to that. I don't think mine will be as well attended as yours, but there's
Donald Trump isn't running California.
That's right. But on December 2nd, we don't know the full details of what we will want to be addressing, but I did just come back from Sacramento this week, where the main focal points are going to be on creating working groups to really get back to the basics, regardless of how you feel or where you fall in your politics.
Thank you very much for your service, Mr. Khanna. You're doing a great job. Okay, so education. I know that the Republican agenda is to get rid of the Department of Education, and could you explain how that could happen and whether or not the House can help not have it happen?
I could not think of a more backward policy at a time where we need the most education in this country to compete in a global economy than to cut the Department of Education. And that's what Project 2025 proposes, the Senate and the House to vote on it and abolish it. I'd be skeptical if he gets the votes, but I think that would be so unpopular with the American people. You'd probably have a landslide for Democrats in 2 years, but he could do it if the House and Senate agree with it. The second way he could do it is more subtle, and probably what he's going to try to do, which is just firing or eliminating people doing their jobs at the Department of Education. So you slow down the grants, you slow down the support, and you can do that unilaterally. And I'm on the Oversight Committee. One of the things we have to be very, very vigilant about is that Trump doesn't just start hollowing out federal agencies. I mean, I know everyone likes to complain about all the federal agencies and the bureaucracy, and I'm not saying that the bureaucracy is perfect. But let me tell you, I'm glad that we have an FDA that makes sure that the medicine I take is safe and that the food I eat is safe. And I'm glad we have an EPA that makes sure that we have clean water and clean air, and an FAA that makes sure that when I'm on an airplane, I know I'm going to be there safely. No one on airplane says, "Oh, I wish we had no regulations." So we live in one of the greatest countries in the world because we have regulations that keep us safe. Now, can we debate about, are certain regulations too much? Are there some excessive? Sure. But this idea that you're just going to throw a sledgehammer and start to eliminate people whose job it is to protect the American people is very short-sighted, and we need to make sure that we're vigilant on the Oversight Committee in trying to prevent that.
We could have replaced Biden over a year ago, and we could have had a real primary and had a real chance at winning this election. And you're a party guy. I know you're up there in the party. What kind of guarantee are you going to give us that there's going to be some sort of rule, that we're not going to nominate someone again who's over 80, or maybe we could have an age limit, like 72 or something?
She's got to gently retire, Anna Eshoo, God bless her too. We don't want another Feinstein situation. And we just saw this happen with Biden. So you really do us a solid, man. Thank you.
I'm just glad you didn't put the age at 48. I say to people who are very, very depressed about Donald Trump, and if there are Trump supporters here, I know statistically there have to be, given the results. Feel free to speak up and don't be shy. It's open to everyone. But the biggest thing I give reassurance to people who are upset about Trump is in 1 year he's going to be a lame duck, and you're going to have a whole new group of people in New Hampshire and across the country from both parties. So the generational change that you want is coming in the next few years.
Let's say you and I went to dinner and there wasn't so much of a public, friend to friend. How do you rate or grade the Democratic Party? And it's not just this election. It's been going on for a long time. You and I have lived in this country long enough to see. How do you rate it?
If you include FDR and others, I give it an A-, but right now probably a C, because we have not done enough to speak to the working class and income inequality. Income inequality has gone from 53rd to 128th in the world. We have as a country, we've got rising healthcare costs, rising childcare costs, rising housing costs, wages relatively stagnant, people hurting, and the inequality is, in my view, what may rip America apart. There are many other issues. There are many other issues of disagreement. I mean, obviously, as a supporter of the dignity of people who are trans, there are disagreements on that. There are disagreements on issues of gun safety. But deeply, what I think is polarizing America and leading to that bitterness is the sense for so many Americans that they've lost the ability to have an American dream. John Updike, when I was growing up, and I wrote about this in my recent op-ed today, he wrote about Berks County, Pennsylvania. I grew up near there. And in 1979, Rabbit is Rich. There's a character there, Henry Armstrong, who says, young man, you can't buy a house, you can't buy a car, you're probably going to give up on the system. That was 50 years ago, and it's only gotten worse. And I believe that the primary mission of the Democratic Party has to be to reduce this inequality of opportunity, to reduce this inequality of where there is wealth, to create new good-paying jobs and higher wages for people in communities left out and places left out. And by doing that, we can start to heal this country and have reconciliation. And the party also needs to make sure we're not supporting more foreign interventions and wars that are a distraction from building the community here at home.
Teacher who also worked in the private sector.
In the private sector, you're accumulating Social Security, then you go become a teacher. You shouldn't be penalized. You shouldn't lose the Social Security you've already accumulated. Not only is that unfair to teachers, it's a disincentive for people to go in to the teaching profession or to go in and become firefighters. Unfortunately, I'm skeptical that the Republicans in Congress are going to allow us to pass it, but I'll advocate. There are a few Republicans who have supported it, and we'll continue to push for it. You shouldn't. It's unfair to penalize states like California and New York, where you have middle class, upper middle class families in this state, and not being able to deduct their salt tax. So I'm hoping you can fix that in the tax code so that you can deduct up to a certain level, but you should be able to deduct, 100, 200,000. But if you're middle class, upper middle class, you should be able to deduct it so that you can make ends meet in a high cost of living area.
Congressman, I have Alice from Santa Clara with a question about the Inflation Reduction Act.
Thank you for being here, Congressman. It's
Thank
really
you.
good to see you at a time like this. And I think it's a great piggyback question that we don't want to throw a sledgehammer to the things that are keeping us safe. We do need the government. We can't just toss out the government. And along those lines, I'd like to know, as a volunteer for Citizens Climate Lobby, how can we protect the gains we've made with the Inflation Reduction Act, which I hear Trump wants to repeal?
So here's the good news. When the Inflation Reduction Act was taking place, I kept privately and sometimes publicly criticizing the administration because all the projects basically disproportionately were going to the red states. And the reasons they were going to the red states is because those red states had right to work laws and didn't allow for unions to have a fair shot at collective bargaining. And I said, you can't just be sending all these jobs and new battery plants and new solar plants to the red states, because you want to be supporting union jobs. Well, that was my criticism. Now the good news is a lot of those jobs are in the red states. So Donald Trump is going to have a hard time with his own senators and his own congresspeople to start to repeal provisions that are going to hurt them in their own districts. I mean, they all voted against that bill, and then, as the president has pointed out, would stand at the ribbon cuttings on the new factories. And, I don't know what he's going to say to Elon Musk about eliminating the electric vehicle tax credit. But we will continue to speak towards that goal, which I think is the only way you're going to get peace and justice for both sides.
So we know that we have a retirement crisis in this country. Unlike Congress, most people like us, we don't have pensions. We have workplace 401ks where we have to contribute our own money. So speaking, with my own experience and other people's, the 2008 recession, layoffs, periods of unemployment have taken a hit to my 401k. And I was looking forward to putting away more money when I turned 50 with the catch-up contributions. But Congress, taxes before I can contribute to my 401k, I will be saving less money for my retirement. So how does that, why did Congress pass that act? It doesn't make us more secure. And they increased the, age for catch-up contributions to 60, from ages of 60 to 63. By the time most people are driven out of the industry, especially the tech industry, by ageism. So essentially, you're taking a hit to our retirement savings.
$144,000 in the Bay Area is not rich. I mean, especially if you have a family, if you have kids, given the fact that in Sunnyvale, a one-bedroom apartment can cost $3,000 a month in some places. So I will work. Look, there's going to be tax reform. If you give your name to Nicole, we'll work to see if we can fix this in the tax bill that comes out, even if I end up voting against the tax bill because it's undoubtedly going to have huge giveaways to corporations.
Estoy aquí para hacer la siguiente pregunta que nos preocupa a todos los que somos latinos.
Obviously wants the border fixed, but they are not going to tolerate policies that are cruel and that have overreach. And I believe that we will be able to stand up for decency and we all need to do that.
Yeah, my concern is the criminal use of AI, particularly fraud against seniors. I was wondering if there's anything being proposed in Congress or what could be proposed. I have a suggestion that telemarketing AI and chatbots be required to self-identify when they're communicating with the person.
One of the basic things I think is AI should just be disclosed. You know, when you're seeing something on X or Facebook or social media, or if you're having someone call you as a telemarketer, you should know if it's AI. You know, there was this live video to protect our freedom. They were asking simply that their survivor spouse be compensated if they pass because their spouses have been taking care of them as disabled veterans. So on those kind of policies, on policies that can incentivize hiring of people who are disabled, hiring of people, if there's a natural disaster that hits California, a wildfire, a storm, which we know we're prone to having, even unfortunately earthquakes, that he will not allow FEMA funds to go there unless California were to change its policy on abortion or change its policy on some issue that coincides with what he believes. Now, with Donald Trump, you know, some of this is bluster, campaign bluster, but it's even as bluster, it's deeply offensive that he would even think that about any state in the union. It's one of the reasons the governor has convened this legislative session on December 2nd to say, how can California push back? There may be legal strategies. I mean, if the president doesn't have the authority to do that. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court has given him total immunity from criminal liability, but they still may say that this is a bridge too far. If Congress is appropriating funds for natural disasters, you can, as a president, unilaterally block those funds from going to any state. So we have to, with the Oversight Committee, push back on any suggestion that he would do that, be very vocal.